some action, I imagine people have read in the newspaper about parks that are located, community gardens that are located on the lands that are controlled by the LA City Board of Rec and Parks Commissioners. There are 9 gardens in this category, and I or other members of our group have communicated with 8 of these 9 gardens, and they're impacted by a onerous fee increase that the Board of Rec and Parks Commissioners voted on as a big package of fee increases of July last year. It was things like, baseball fees for using adults and how much it costs to use a pool and stuff like that. And way down on page 30 was like, oh yeah, this community garden plots that they used to be $25 a year are now $125 a year. So the gardeners at one of these gardens at the Sepulveda Garden Center got a notice posted at their garden just recently in November, right before Thanksgiving, saying you're going to have to pay $125 when your lease is up January 1. Everyone pays January 1. It used to be $25 a year. And the Rec and Park staff was saying, when January 2011 comes, you're going to have to pay me $125. So everybody got upset. So we organized and we talked with all the gardens, and we have come to a couple conclusions about how to act on this that we'd like to share with you. And that we'd like to earn the support of the East Hollywood Neighborhood Council for these conclusions. Our purpose is to speak with authority to the Board of Rec and Parks Commissioners to encourage them to change their action that they took last summer in this matter. We have 4 points. The date that the fees would come into play should be no sooner than July 1st, 2011, and that each of these gardens has a different situation. The Ocean View Farms near Santa Monica Airport out on the west side, that's on Rec and Parks land, but they have their own water meter and they have no participation in the garden by Rec and Parks staff. In fact, that garden takes in a busload, a big dump truck full of the city's stable waste and processes that waste at their garden, saving the city the expense of doing that task. And the Rec and Parks Board's action would add to that garden's their existing water bill that they pay themselves, add this fee for no services at all. In another case at the Sepulveda Garden Center, they're on Army Corps of Engineer land, which we've learned the lease that the city has with the Army Corps of Engineers precludes the city from raising the fees to those gardeners without the consent of the Army Corps, which has not been sought. But for this neighborhood council, I'd like you to focus on Waddles Farm up in the north end of Hollywood. That's a big garden that was started during Mayor Bradley's administration and has a lot of low-income seniors in that garden. Those low-income seniors are satisfied to pay the actual cost of their water, that their meter is unified with the rest of that park system. So our second point is that at each garden, they should be charged their real costs that the Rec and Parks Department realizes, metered water fees, and that those costs should be presented in the budget at least 3 months before the cost is due, and that the gardeners should have an opportunity to discuss amongst themselves what actions they might take to reduce their costs. Because we, as a countywide nonprofit, know that gardens use less water when they're asked to pay their own water bill. No one should be getting free water, which is the case right now. Right now, the Solano Canyon Community Garden gets water just from this pipe that was there from the Rec and Parks Department. And we've known this for a long time. We thought, it'd be really good to install a water meter and pay, but it'd have to be a private water meter because the service line in a park is a mile up the road, right? That's where the DWP wants to connect you to. So this is the last thing. The LA Community Garden Council would be willing to make a contract with the Board of Rec and Parks Commissioners, whoever is the appropriate person ready to contract with, I don't know, to have a private water meter, and we'd agree to be responsible for what the reading of that water meter is. Because the DWP doesn't send a bill to a private meter, the Rec and Parks Department would have to send us a bill, and we'd be willing to collect that money from the gardeners in turn. Last, The gardens that have no Rec and Park staff and have their own water meters, if they were to be paying the charge that is proposed, that would be land rent. And we would like to argue that that is stupid and that shouldn't be the rule in the city of LA. The garden is there as long as it's open to all comers. Everyone who presents themselves at a community garden can get their name on the waiting list. Having people able to grow food in their own neighborhoods confers a public benefit on all Angelenos, and that we think that the cost to the city should be nothing, but we don't pay land rent to private people either. It's just not the sort of an expense that a community garden can survive with. So we feel that the gardeners provide a service to the neighborhood, and that service payback is ample compensation to the landowner for what they get. And we rent a lot of lots from private people. The Crenshaw Community Garden is on a private lot. It's been a boon to the neighborhood, and they're thrilled to have us because they don't have to pay their brush clearance fee. So these 4 points, we want the date the fees start to be July 1. After July 1, we want fees to be equal to the cost of running the garden, presented in a budget, and with the gardeners having the opportunity to comment on that budget. Gardens that are on Rec and Park land and have their own water meters shouldn't be asked to pay land rent. And that's what we'd like to ask you guys to have. So if there are questions, I'd be happy to have them.
Questions? I just have a question. And the fee, are the fees charged to each gardener pays a fee?
Well, that's one of our resistance strategies. In a normal garden, the gardeners sit like you are now. You've got a plot, you've got a plot, I've got a plot. And we have the water bill and the cost of insurance for the year and divided up by the number of plots. And we all share in the expenses. That's how it normally runs. But what Rec and Parks is proposing is you're going to pay $125.
Each person?
Yeah.
Oh, so.
So what's my benefit? Well, why should I use less water than Mitch is using?
Right.
That's just stupid.
Yeah.
So we think that's wasteful, and it's the worst thing. It's the worst kind of government. So we think this is a fight that we can win. The Rec and Park staff have talked like, oh yeah, we're going to do good by you. You know, they don't hate us or anything, but you know, they're into baseball.
Well, I mean, it seems like if you were paying just your costs, that the cost might actually go down, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
For the gardeners, and there'd be an incentive to use, say, less water.
Right. We feel that a lot of the assumptions that the Rec and Park staff made are incorrect. They are not aware of the nature of the lease at Sepulveda Garden Center and the term with the Army Corps of Engineers thing. So I've emailed the Rec and Park staff twice to offer my help, and they say, oh, thank you, you know, so